Hey. Sorry. Right? Sorry about that. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I think we need to kick this off and probably talk about the Super Bowl, right?
Well, first we should talk about the new time. It's no longer Tuesday at 10:30. It's Wednesday at 2 p.m. Because there was too much competition for Tuesday's guests, so we moved it.
Yeah. Just a lot of stuff going on Tuesdays, just in general, right?
Right.
Just in general, but excited to have Nick on today. But I think we got to take our shots on goal. And we got to talk about the Super Bowl, right?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead?
Well, I'd said last week, I think you and I and Kellen and a bunch of others were all on a live on Sunday before the Super Bowl, and I kind of talked about I felt like that the Tampa Bay defense would step up, and everybody made such a big deal about Tom Brady, but in the NFC Championship game, he threw 3 picks in the second half, but they didn't score on one of them. That Tampa Bay defense is really legit. I mean, Tom Brady, hey, I give it up. I mean, he was my quarterback, right? I mean, you can see this logo behind me over here. This is my favorite quarterback all time. It was hard pill to swallow, just really hard. But kind of quietly rooted for him. I wasn't one of those weirdos wearing like a half Tampa, half Patriot jersey and flying the Tampa flag and all that crap. It's not my quarterback, man. Not my quarterback. But so shout out to Tampa Bay. I think Kansas City was soft. I think the AFC as a whole was probably soft. I think Green Bay probably could have scored more on Kansas City than what Tampa did. I'll give you my shot on goal after that. But what say ye about the Super Bowl, sir?
Like I said to you many times, it's tough. Tough to see him in a different uniform. It's kind of like watching Larry Bird go play for the Lakers. When they've had so much success in your laundry, you don't want them to change. So I ended up rooting for him, and I'm glad he won. I thought he took the high road on almost every question that they tried to get him to, turn on the old team and the old fans. And I think he took the high road, and I look forward to seeing him. He's going to be here for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job of keeping the high road, taking the high road, but we do our shots on goal. I want to give you my shot on goal. Was the streaker. Okay.
Right.
Are you seeing anything come? Have you seen what's kind of come out about this afterwards?
I haven't seen. I saw him out of the corner. I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and then of course on the television they removed. But I did hear the audio of him. He took his pants off. I heard.
Well, there was the audio from Jim Nance. No, not Jim Nance.
Westwood One, right?
The radio version of it was incredible. It was so funny. But have you heard the news that's come out now is that apparently maybe him and a buddy had bet $400,000 or some weird number on there was a bet. There was a prop bet in Vegas. Will there be a streaker? And so they placed, I think, $1,000 on it and won $400,000. I mean, that's the best money ever spent, right?
Right. And you have total control of your bet right then.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, Vegas doesn't like getting beat. So now they're coming back saying, well, we're not going to pay on that because but I get it, but I don't get it. Like it's just it's the old Robin Hood shorting the hedge funds. You got played. Take your lumps.
Yep. Change the rules now. No more taking bets on that, but you should pay that.
Yeah. I think you have to. I don't know how you don't pay that. That just seems pretty low if you're going to do that. But give it up to the guy. He's wearing like this neon thing. If Tony Thorpe's on, that's the kind of thing I could see Tony Thorpe wearing,
or at the halftime, those guys were wearing like cup or jocks on their head or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony,
you're right there. Tony, I could see Tony pulling off something like that, but only in Canada, right? Like at a Blue Jays game or something. Like he doesn't have the cojones to do that in America, probably. So He's a Canadian guy, and that's his kind of shtick. But I thought some of the commercials were pretty good. Reddit came out and did a commercial that was, kind of a 30-second spot and kind of giving props to the guys that propped up the stock market and did all that stuff, which was cool. The one negative, and it's in the industry I'm in the restaurant industry, was Uber Eats did an ad with Wayne and Garth and then Cardi B talking about buy local. While these people are ripping the heads off of local operators, taking 30% on orders. Now, you do have the option, we're going to have Nick Bogaz on, and he can talk about this maybe a little bit, but you do have the option to not use those guys. Nobody's putting a gun to your head saying, hey, you have to use Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever. But at the same time, 30%. And the craziest stuff that I think people don't realize about those third-party apps is that none of them are profitable. None of them. They're losing millions. They spent millions of dollars for this ad to tell people to buy local, while they're ripping the heads off of local pizzerias, local restaurants, you name it. They're ripping their heads off. All the while, they keep going back to Wall Street to get more funding and more funding and more funding and more funding. I don't know what the end game is on Uber Eats and DoorDash. I don't know what the end game is for these guys. I don't know how they have to win.
I bet the win is your personal data.
Well, and it has to be that, right?
Right.
Much like a lot of other things, it has to be that. So anyway, we've got Michelle Jesse Vincent on, Randy Chafee's on, Kara is here. Wow, she a little money on the Super Bowl. Ted Legal is here. Charles Coachman is here. I think I'm going to be on a show with Charles, and is it Charles? No, maybe it's somebody else. But it's with Mark Gassert here next week. So
cool.
And I'm with Randy Chafee next week on Building Wins, and you were on with him last week. So my goal is to be on like one Building Wins and then like 3 or 4 added wins.
Right.
That's my goal. Just to like be on the most added wins. So
right.
So let's without further ado,
I got a shot on goal real quick.
Oh yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So a shot on goal to my dad. I'm glad you're home. I'm glad you're doing better. I really appreciate that. And lastly, we appreciate the prayers of everyone. And lastly, I have a real quick one. Hey, Wes, can you throw up a graphic for me?
Oh no!
Did you see this?
Yes.
So this is awesome. So as if anyone hasn't seen it, this lawyer was there was some kind of deposition, and there's a judge in there, and apparently his daughter got on and put some kind of filter on his Zoom. So the lawyer came on as a cat, and he couldn't figure out how to put it off. But my favorite line is he said to the judge, "I'm here. I'm prepared. I'm not a cat."
I'm not a cat. My wife showed me that last night, and I was just like, what? Your Honor, I'm here. I'm not a cat. And he's like, I can tell.
So with all the crappy news in the world out there, I thought that one would be good. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know if you had anything else. And I'm just
no problem.
Get to my son's Nicholas, and I want to call Nicky B. So so let's get Nick on here if he's available. He's probably wearing some Steelers crap. Nope. There he is.
Hey, welcome.
How are you, Nick? How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. You look like you're in snowy Pittsburgh today.
Oh, yeah. We've been getting snow all winter, which is unusual. Maybe the last 5 years it's been rain instead of snow, but we've been snow for the last 3 months or so.
Yeah. We're iced in today in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everything's kind of shut down, and they've got all these models predicting anywhere from like 1 inch to 20 inches of snow on Saturday. And the high is like 3 degrees Saturday and Sunday. We ain't used to that.
Eric, we call that global warming.
Yeah, right. No doubt. Hey, Nick, I want to jump right into this. I want to ask you, yesterday was National Pizza Day, and you guys were part of the community of pizza operators across the country that all donated pizzas to local charities, local, I guess, whoever needed. What did you guys do yesterday? I know you guys did a lot with Caliente, right?
Yeah, we took 30 pizzas down to the Light of Life Mission Center in Pittsburgh, which is a homeless shelter. We do work with them throughout the year, and then last year we kind of did the same thing, and they actually moved to a new facility. It was beautiful. Absolutely brand new, everything from all the restaurant equipment to all the beds and Just a really nice facility that they built. And yeah, so that's what we did. It was really nice. Local news picked it up. The local paper picked it up. And it just was a feel good thing. And then, we told them when we were down there too, like, hey, let's not be just, we come here once or twice a year. Here's my cell number. Give me a call. Let's, whenever you guys need pizza, just call me.
Yeah. That's one of the things when you see that stuff being done and you get that feel good of like, hey, we donated 30 pizzas, and you almost kind of wish you could do it a lot more. And I really, the reality is it costs money. Right. So good for you guys. I know. Do you have any idea how many guys across the country were involved with that? It was a lot.
There was a lot. I think this is probably the third year we've been involved with it. And last year it seemed like it was a lot of the World Pizza Champions team, which, that I'm on. And this year it seemed like it grew. And, my Facebook, probably same as yours, was filled with people donating yesterday. So it was really, it was actually, really just makes you feel good to be part of that industry. I mean, as you know, all the guys in it are just super, and it just shows how much of a giving heart everybody really has.
Yeah. Tim doesn't know you very well, and I don't want to pretend to know you super well either, but we follow each other on social media. And one of my favorite things about you is I think we think a lot alike from the standpoint of maybe some of the same stuff we read. Right now I'm currently rereading for the second time in the last week, The Science of Getting Rich, which is was maybe about 10 or 15 years before some other things that were written that are probably a lot more popular. But I think what's The Science of Getting Rich probably equates nowadays to The Secret. And you're a big guy regarding what you think about, you bring about, right? And what thoughts become things. Can you talk about what that kind of philosophy means to you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it means everything to me. I think, I really, it was kind of stumbled upon it, really, in my early 20s when I was running a Papa John's. Early 20s, mid 20s, I worked with a lot of kids that would need off for college on the weekends. And I didn't go to college. So, what do you need off on the weekends for? I'm thinking they're just going to party. They're like, no, I have to read, this book or that book and then do a report on it. And I'm like, I think that's what college is. It's a lot of reading. So I decided to become an avid reader, and really anything I wanted to learn about. If it was self-finance, I read every self-finance book. If it was, negotiating, I'd read every negotiating book there was. And I kind of put myself through these kind of different classes, I guess. Okay, 6 months of reading this, 6 months of reading that. And what happened was, as you start to get in some of the personal development stuff, I kept falling on this one book. How, when you're reading, an author will say, they'll mention another book. Everyone they kept mentioning everybody mentioned Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
So, all right, I've got to read this book. And when I read it, everything changed. My whole perspective changed. I was, at that time, I read and followed a lot of Dave Ramsey, and even went to Financial Peace University. So I was a big student of getting out of debt and living that way. But there was just something different about the manifesting and the whole secret and the law of attraction. So I really got into it. And then, I've watched, I can't tell you how many times I've watched The Secret. Honestly, I mean, it's probably in the 20s. And then same with Think and Grow Rich. I've definitely in the teens of how many times I've read it. And even when COVID happened this year, back last March, or I guess a year ago, I just started going back to those things. I read Think and Grow Rich again. I watched The Secret again, because I figured that's the way I'm going to get through all this, is, not thinking about all the negative stuff. So really, there I was, working 5 jobs, 90 hours a week, didn't know how I was going to open my own business. And I just kept envisioning having my own pizza shop. And, people always say, did you ever think you would do this or that? Well, yeah, I did. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just, the more you read it, you're always at a different point in your life. So I always, that's why someone would say, why would you read the same book 15 times? Well, I'm at a different point in my life each of those 15 times. So I get something different out of it each time. But it really, you're right. It's become like a philosophy of mine that I definitely believe in the law of attraction. I've done, I believe in seminars. So I'll go out to different seminars. I've seen Bob Proctor live. It was a fantastic seminar. I can't wait till we get back, we can actually travel and go to some of these live shows. And, it's just great to really dig into that type of thinking, really.
Yeah.
In my
Go ahead,
business,
Tim.
Nick, my employees are everything to me. I own a small little ad agency out north of Boston. How has your thought process on the law of attraction, and how has it trickled down to your employees, and do they live it the same way?
Sometimes it's tough to take your ideas and make them others. I think even sometimes, with family, it's tough to, people see different, how successful you become or different things that'll happen. And they still wonder like, oh, did he get lucky or whatever it is, but they don't realize that, it was a shift in the mindset. And I think for the employees, what I've really tried to do is really try to set them up for looking and setting goals. I think that's been a good step. Every year they know that I'm going to ask them for 10 goals. I'm going to challenge them on the goals. Sometimes I don't accept, the real easy ones that they write down. I really look for, dig deep of why you're writing a goal. And then we go back and look at them a few times a year with them. So I work with them on their goals. I think that's probably the closest to that kind of shift, I guess. But I think it's really important that, I try to tell them, look, you got to write these things down. There's power in the pen.
Great.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed you've done, and I'm guessing it's very intentional, it feels like over the last year and a half, I've seen you on a lot of podcasts. I've seen you on Fox Business. I've seen you in a lot of places. And so I've got maybe a two-pronged question. Number one, like, what's the thought process behind that? Is it just to give? And then secondly, I'm curious, like, how do you see that affecting your business?
So to answer the first one, what happened is I had great success, 5 stores in 6 years, speaking at all the pizza expos and the keynote speeches and all that great stuff in the industry. And then I decided I finally wanted to write my own book. So I wrote The Pizza Equation, which is basically my story in the pizza industry. And then I saw so many people DMing me and asking me different questions, and really got looked at as that, a thought leader in the industry. And I felt like I was giving so much back. And really, when you get down to it, whether you're in the pizza industry or it doesn't matter what industry, lawn care or ad agency, where you're talking about how you treat employees or whatever it may be, there's so many principles in small business that just work all the way across every industry, every small business. So I felt like I could give back to not such a broad industry as the pizza industry. I felt like I could give back to small businesses in general. So that's why I started the podcast, The Business Equation. And the more that I got into the business equation, in the beginning, it was a lot of me talking, really the first 25 shows, just me getting on there and giving all my tips, tactics, strategies that I've used. Then I started to bring on some great guests, and I realized that was, where the guests have ended up taking it is a lot of times we start talking about mindset. So a lot of what the answer to the business equation is mindset. And then from trying to build that up, it's really, I'm not trying to monetize it. I really believe in giving back. So there's, certainly everybody always thinks of, financial giving back, and we do a lot of that. But there's also that part of giving your time back and giving back, what you've learned and giving your wisdom back. And I think that's where I've tried to focus. So I put a lot of energy into trying to get put in the right spots to build up my personal brand, because I feel like at the end of the day, nobody can ever take that away from you. Whether no matter what happens, COVID comes again or something worse and wipes out the restaurant industry, you still have to have something else to fall back on. And that's where I feel like if I'm always investing, sure, in my business, but also into my personal brand, I've always got my personal brand to fall back on. And, it just feels good. I like to be able to give back what I've really learned. And I think a lot of small businesses, and what I'm finding is I've got a lot of young entrepreneurs who call me, they listen to the show. I've given my number out. And, I was on a call last night with a 22-year-old kid that's going to open up a design for golfers. He's going after golf courses with a ad and, a proposal for them, and just talking through with him and just trying to help these young entrepreneurs. So that's been a lot of it. As far as helping Caliente, it seems like, being out there, like yesterday, being on the news and stuff like that for pizza and for Caliente definitely makes a difference. I don't know if it transpires too much, the business equation to Caliente helping it out, but I have gotten some really nice articles in like the Pittsburgh Business Times about the podcast. and definitely, mentions Caliente, and I think it has helped a little bit there too. But, a lot of it is just trying to feed that positive energy forward.
Cool. Nick, you had mentioned a few seconds ago about personal brand. You and Eric are very, very good about building your personal brand. I actually had a sales rep reach out to me a couple of weeks ago and wants to go out to take me out to dinner so that I can help him create his own personal brand. If you could give a piece of advice to a 20-something-year-old that their focus is building their personal brand, what would it be?
You got to be genuine. I think that's number one. You have to be genuine. I think the other thing is there's a lot of things that you can do yourself that you don't need to hire someone for at the beginning. And you should take your time to do all those. And I think the mistake a lot of people make is they think it's something they can just do in their spare time and don't realize that when they're really going to work on it, that it's almost another full-time gig. And I think that was one of the things I ran across in the beginning. I had so much going on. And I even think at the same time we were opening up, we opened up a new store right when I wrote the pizza equation. I did a good job of pushing the book for sure, but then I was switching into this personal brand with a brand new store. And it was like I was kind of doing it, but I wasn't really giving it my all. And Eric's right when he mentioned about a year and a half ago, I got real serious about it. And that's when I started, making sure I was making these connections on LinkedIn to get on all kind of different shows and, making having my PR team really work on, put me on TV and stuff like that too. But there was a lot of things that I'm doing, when everybody's sleeping at my house at 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'm in the office, working on my personal brand, whether it's making a new link tree or working on new photos or images or just trying to work through that. And then eventually I do have a team behind me now. So, there's I have a team of 3 people behind me that are working on, images and content and everything like that. So we're really focusing on getting to that tipping point. That's what we're focusing on right now.
Great.
Hey, Nick, Tony Thorpe just asked, where can we get your book? Can he get it at nickbogaz.com? I know it's available on it's on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on both nickbogaz.com and also Amazon. Correct.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned the people you've had on your podcast that have all been successful. Are there 2 or 3 takeaways from those people that you say these 2 or 3 things make most of those people successful? That you talk about visualization or what? Is there anything like that jumps out to you that seems to be a common thread?
Well, what's crazy is at the end I asked 7 rapid fire questions. One of them is best seminar teaching you've ever been to. 8 out of 10 say Tony Robbins, something Tony Robbins. So I think that's incredible. And really when I started at the post office and I went there my first day and realized that's where dreams go to die and that I had to open my own pizzeria. I had Tony Robbins in my ears all the time sorting mail. So I thought that was interesting that people say that. Then the other one is favorite book to give as a gift, I ask people, and Think and Grow Rich is another one that's 8 out of 10. But, those are the 2 common answers for those. And then a lot of it is, they have a morning routine. A lot of people that are on there with successful businesses, they have a morning routine. And I think the other one is, they're not afraid to relax too, believe it or not. You've got people that built, 8-figure businesses, 9-figure businesses, and they're talking about, how they're able to decompress and relax too. So I think that was a good takeaway.
Cool. One of the, I think, compliments I paid you in the past was I've seen you speak at Pizza Expo. I've seen your team do presentations at Pizza Expo. And one of the cool things is you've got a lot of folks there. It's cool to see that all those folks wearing Caliente shirts and they're all supporting each other. And I'm sure a little of that is hey, everybody needs to be here I'm sure that's some of it, right? But it seems like they're a very engaging, supportive group. Is that kind of the culture just of your whole team?
It is, it's all by design, really. When I went to the first Pizza Expo that I ever was at was 2015, and I took three guys. We didn't have all general managers. I had one store at that time, so it was I took my 3 main guys, I guess, and there was 4 of us out there. We were like kids in a candy shop, and we kept seeing. I'm gonna mess it up here, but I want to say it's Ferrara's Pizza from Washington, Oregon area. They had tons of people there. Everywhere you go, you saw all their shirts. And I just looked at my guys and I was like, one day that's going to be us. We're going to that's going to be us one day. And I remember when I worked for Domino's, I worked for Domino's and Papa John's and I loved Domino's. Like, it is such a great company. It does not surprise me what they've done with like their stock prices, and that they're still relevant, 40 years later, because that company, when I was going to the big functions back in like 2003 and 4, were just incredible. They take you to like Walt Disney World, and they'd rent out the whole entire hotel and have a giant ass party. And it just was so much fun. And my franchisee would take, 8, 9 guys, and we'd be sitting at like Don Shula's Steakhouse eating these, here we are eating these, $80 steaks. And I just was like, one day I'm going to do this for my guys. So, it was really one of those things. It's all by design. And then when 2016 happened, 2015, I came back. I had saw the culinary expos, the competitions out there, and I'm more of an operations guy, but I knew I had a great friend that was a white tablecloth dining chef, Eric Von Hansen, and I thought, what, I knew Eric could go out there and win the competitions, and I came back, had him over, him and his family, and which wasn't strange because I'm the godfather to one of his kids, and I pitched him on joining Caliente, and he's like, "You're crazy! Like, I'm not going to make pizzas. I'm a fine dining chef." And he burned a hole in his pocket. He just kept thinking about it. Called me up, says, "All right, I'm in. Tell you what kind of guy he is." He gave a 3-month notice to his job. He was there for 7 years, and then he joined me June 1st, 2015, when we went out. That day, we talk about goals. His first day, I gave him a sheet of like 10 different goals. Some of it was like change the way we do inventory, make a menu book for all the menu items, but also on there was go to Pizza Expo and win the world championship. So like, nice. That's our goals. So 2016 comes, we go out there, and he won the whole thing with the whole pan division with the whack attack that he had made. So that shifted the culture because now our guys wanted to compete. So we had guys that started doing acrobats, guys that started doing the box folding. Everybody wants to do the culinary side of it, and it's really shifted everything. So it kind of was a combination of always wanting to be able to bring my guys and make them feel part of something from how I felt part of Domino's. And then the other part was, the culinary side that Eric really was able to get our team to buy into.
Very cool. You have to pick one for the whole rest of 2021, Facebook or Instagram. What are you going to take?
Facebook. I don't think it's dying. I mean, I don't know. I'm Facebook.
You're the first person to say that. Everybody else is Instagram. That's why Facebook for you.
You can put your message out there rather than just your pictures. Like, I think with Instagram, like you're just putting your pictures out there, a couple sentences. I don't think stories are as good as they used to be. I think the reels have kind of taken over a little bit. But if you still dig into Facebook and what we've ended up doing a lot lately is rather than doing the ads like we used to, all of Pittsburgh, people who like pizza wings, Steelers, blah, 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 and advertise to them, what we've done now is say we've got 26,000 people who already like Caliente on our Facebook. Let's do the advertise to them, pay to advertise to our followers. So we're shoving our messages down the throats of the people who already love us. We're not worrying about going out and get more because we just want to stir up the conversation in the 26,000 people that already love us. So we have great results from Facebook. I know people like to say they don't, but I figured it out in 2012. That's when I started giving Facebook money for advertising. And because I understood how the money went in, I've been buying Facebook stock as long as it's been available too. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So I have a question. Are you excited for Antonio Brown?
It's funny when he scored the other day, like, I go to all the games with my kid and he's 18 and he was like, the poster's down in the room and hasn't worn his jersey. And he was like, he was excited for him. He really was. He was like, yeah, he's like, AB scored. He's like, yeah, he's like, I wish I was there to watch him and blah, blah, blah. So it's hard, man. It was how it is with those breakups. It's just hard. Like, we loved AB here. He was so many good games, so much excitement. We watched him go from like a pretty good receiver to one that we thought like could maybe be that first ballot wide receiver that like I was shocked that Megatron got in on the first ballot because they just don't take receivers on the first ballot. So like, I don't know. It's hard. That's still a hard one to swallow. Like Le'Veon Bell, like, so what? But AB was a tough one, man. We loved AB. I think the only other one that kind of got me like that is I felt like they let Joey Porter go a little bit too early. He went on to Miami, had 15 sacks. I loved Joey Porter when he was here. People loved him in the city. Maybe I'm going to give you 3 now. Maybe James Harrison when he went to New England, like at the end of the season. That was crap. Everybody hated that, especially when he went to play for New England, and then he went to damn Super Bowl, and that was crap. But then honestly,
here we go.
Yeah, and then like Rod Woodson, when I was a kid, like he left and went to Baltimore, and then played for like another 10, 15 years or something. He was old as hell when he left. Like, I don't know. It just sucks when you see like somebody that's meant so much to the city leave. But then we've got guys like, Troy, when he just retired, Hines Ward just retired. Like, they probably wanted to play a little bit longer, but the Steelers just like, hey, you're done. And that was it.
Is Mason Rudolph the answer?
No, absolutely not. He's horrible.
Yeah, I don't really know what you're talking about when one
guy.
of your favorites leave your team and go somewhere else. I'm not really sure about that.
You didn't see him kiss the trophy and kiss his kid or what?
I shut it off before that.
Okay.
Do you think Pizza Expo is going to happen this year in June?
Yeah, let's say it is. We're talking about manifesting everything. Let's manifest. Yeah, it's going to happen.
All right, cool. What are you reading right now?
So the book I've been reading is called Traction, and it was recommended, and I started to read it. It's like CEO mindset, I guess, and it's been a good read. And I always, what I try to do is I try to have one book that I'm reading, and then I also try to have an audio book. So I've got one of my old favorites. It's like I think it's called like Millionaire Mindset is the one that I've got. I don't know how many times I've listened to it. It's like 11 hours, and I usually 5 out of 10 times I just hit repeat and listen to it again. Because by the time, it takes a good month to listen to it, 11 hours in the car or whatever.
Pro tip, this is a Brian Monahan thing. Brian's in our mastermind group. This is a pro tip is I literally have downloaded a library app on my phone because you can download audiobooks for free. Like I'm a 51-year-old man with a library card now. So they're free. Why buy them on Audible when I can download them for free? So where do you see Caliente in 3 to 5 years from now? Will you have more stores? What's growth look like for you?
So right when the pandemic happened for us in Pittsburgh, it was like March 15th. And we had a new store on the slate, would have been open by a month later, April 15th. So we were just liquor licensed literally that same week, just got approved. And when that happened, we put it on hold. And we said, we'll relook at it in July. July looked worse. It didn't look any better. So we just killed the deal. I ate some money. And that was it. That was that. So we were ready to keep expanding. And then really the way I'm treating it now is, and this is the vision that I had to really let my staff know where we stand, our management team. So where we stood is right now, let's take all our mid-level managers and get them ready to be upper managers. Let's really strengthen them. And let's get back to the operations, the stuff that got us here in the first place. Because a lot of times we've grown so quickly that our operations have kind of got, in certain spots they're a little lax. So let's really strengthen those operations. Let's take advantage of this time. Then when this is all over, I'm looking at it like 1987 with the stock market when it crashed. And then, some of these investors come out and became millionaires. And then same thing with the real estate in 2008 when it crashed. And then, these investors come out and bought all kind of land and became rich. Like I'm looking at it like this is a time for restaurant operators who are already fiscally conservative. They can go into this and really pick out some great deals, because I always look for a good deal before. Everybody would always ask, like, how do you pick a location? It was all off the deal. That was it. Like I didn't care where it went. It just was all about, the numbers lined up and it made sense. And that's how I'm looking at it. I think, we were doing one a year. I think really if we're building the team up so we can do 2, 3, and if 4 present itself in 1 year, we're going to jump on them.
Good for you.
I was with a conversation Monday with some pizza guys on Facebook, and I didn't chime in or say anything, but the whole conversation was about a branded pizza box, right? You've got a beautiful, yours is black, right?
Yep.
All black, gorgeous looking box. And obviously you've got multiple units. If you're a single unit operator, how important is it or is it not to you to have a branded box, do you think?
I mean, it's one of those things that there's a lot of things that maybe they mean something to you. Like I always wanted my own pizza box, and it wasn't the first store. It was the second store. full disclosure, but it was something that I always wanted. And I always wanted a black box. I wanted something that stood out completely different. I remember there was like a chain called East of Chicago Pizza. There was like only one in Pittsburgh, but they came in a black box, and that was 20 years ago. And I was like, one day I'm gonna have a black box. So when I took that to the guys who do my boxes, they really told me no at first, and they came back and said, yeah, and they came back and said, hey, we could do this or that, and sometimes you just have to say no. I want a black box, like price it for me, and they got it right. I've got. The other thing is sometimes you got to use your designers. Like I had my designer design the box. I didn't wait for them to design it for me. I said, here's what we want. And there's a lot of negotiating with those boxes too. The things I would tell like the new operators who are wondering, sometimes you can really negotiate for the printing, like the actual press that presses down on the boxes. Those are really expensive, the plates. So you can negotiate like, hey, I'll do this, and then you guys pay for the plates. Like, if you give them an idea like, hey, I'm not going to change it, we'll use it till it's done. They'll more than likely they'll buy the plates. The other thing you can do is talk to your distributors and see if you can negotiate to where, they buy 50,000 and just sit them in their warehouse. If you mean something to them, they'll probably do that for you.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Sorry, I want to make sure I get every question in here answered. So I got a couple more. This may be a little bit of this is a big question. Your Mount Rushmore of Pittsburgh sports. You got to do one basketball, football, hockey, baseball. Who do you got?
Okay, basketball is Dick Groat.
Okay.
And then hockey's Lemieux.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, I think baseball has to be Clemente. Though I got a shout out. You probably can't see it here, but Hannes Wagner's probably up there too. But I think you have to do Clemente, and then football's hard. I think if you're outside looking into Pittsburgh, you say, well, what do you mean it's hard, Terry Bradshaw? But a lot of people, he kind of has a little bit of salt for Pittsburgh sometimes, the way he talks. So people, maybe like even my father-in-law, who definitely grew up in like that 70s era. I don't think he would tell you his favorite Steeler was Terry Bradshaw, because afterwards he kind of talked crap on the Steelers. So, it's probably Art Rooney is who would be on that Mount Rushmore.
Who do you hate more, New England or Cleveland?
Cleveland has a team still? New England. That's their rivalry. We don't even think of it as a rivalry. We hate Baltimore and Cincinnati more than Cleveland. Like Cleveland, we don't even think of. That's why, some of the Cleveland guys were razzing me, and I was like, what do you get? Just pack up and leave in the middle of the night. We don't even think about you guys. We hate.
Charles Coachman said no love for Willie Stargell, huh?
I think Clemente is of course we love Willie Stargell too, but if you're making me pick one, I think it's got to be Clemente.
Dave Parker had a gun. Dave Parker had a gun, didn't he?
Yeah, Dave Parker did. I've got a great story for you guys too. So 12-year-old kid, Barry Bonds just left to go to the Giants. Not understanding that the Pirates wouldn't really pay him, but we just went through the heartbreak, the whole Sid Bream thing, and Atlanta. I mean, those teams were great, but I went to a good bit of the games and stuff, and it was one of those things that when Bonds left to go to the Giants, we just absolutely hated it, especially for a kid. Like I hated that he went there and despised him. So he comes back for his first game, and I'm a 12-year-old kid in the outfield, and I've got a sign that says Barry who, and I'm screaming my head off. And he just turned around, looked at me, and grabbed his nuts. It was like the great one of my favorite sports moments of all time, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I will tell you one of my, along the same lines, but a little different. I'll tell you one of my favorite sports moments all time. The Red Sox were playing the Rangers in a doubleheader, and they had to squeeze these two games early because Boston had to get out of town because they had a day game somewhere the next day. So they did the very rare early doubleheader, and we didn't have to leave the ballpark. So we stayed in the ballpark between both games. So we had tickets to the Cuervo Club. I'd had a few cocktails. We were sitting 4 or 5 rows behind the third base, behind the Red Sox dugout. Hank Blaylock comes up to bat against Pedro Martinez, right? I've had some cocktails. And Hank Blaylock was a former Tulsa Driller, minor leaguer, right? And anyway, so I yelled, Blaylock, you suck, right? And dude, everybody turned around and stared like, you know, yeah, there are kids around here, blah, blah. And Hank Blaylock had his back to me and he kind of flinched. He heard it, right? Next pitch, cranked it out of the ballpark, turned around and pointed in our right, like that, threw his bat, and dude, I got heckled for the next
awesome
3 or 4 innings, which was pretty brutal. But
That's awesome.
you know, but he didn't grab his nuts or anything.
Yeah, and the great thing about that is, you know, it was the first year he went there, and I was 12. So like every year, I would go to the Giants Pirates game, and I would bring my Barry Hughes sign. And as I got older, me and my buddy would go and bring a big ass cowbell. And we'd have, you know, pay to have the first row seats. Like as soon as the seats went on for sale, I'd take my $45 and buy like the outfield, you know, left field first row. We'd be sitting out there screaming. So like we went every year for like 9 years in a row and screamed at him like with a Barry Hughes sign. So it became pretty awesome.
Somewhere right now, Barry Bonds is telling a story to one of his buddies about this friggin' idiot sitting up here at every game. I turn around every time and grab my nuts at him. He just wouldn't shut up.
That was pretty awesome.
That's great.
Well, Timmy, you got any more questions before we get out of here with Mr. Bogaz?
You know, I don't. I guess the question is, how many shops do you have?
5.
And you really will open 3 or 4 as soon as the time is right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I started calling around right now just to kind of see where we're at. And it seems like the prices are a little bit under what they were before the pandemic, but they're not right yet. And I think, you know, I really want to buy the property on the next set of stores that we get into. So looking for those deals. They're going to be out there. And, you know, really it's all about your team. You know, what do you have underneath you that could take over stores? And we have guys that are chomping at the bit to be general managers. And we've got bartenders who want to be bar managers. And, you know, we really built up a great team. And it's speaking that vision and letting them know exactly where we stand so that they can really think, you know, hey, I can make a career out of this. Because I think that's the last part that I really say is in the beginning, I had to judge myself. How will I be successful? And it was real simple when I opened up Caliente. I was like, when I could buy a car from this century, because I was the king of $500 cars, when I could buy a little bit bigger house, and when I could figure out how to pay for my kids' college because they were 12 and 10 and I had no idea. But after the first year, you know, I knew that I was going to be able to do all 3 of those. So I had to really judge, like, how am I going to be successful? And I realized when I can create an environment that the people who work for me can do the 3 things for their family from working for me, then I'll be successful. So so that's why we always drive to open more stores. You know, I don't really need to, but I know that they're creating careers for the people who really give it their all every day for me.
Do you know Rich?
Go ahead, Tim.
Do you know Rich Villar?
I do not.
Oh, okay. He lives in your area.
I connected you guys on LinkedIn. Rich is a Pittsburgh guy as well. It was in the last couple of weeks you guys connected on LinkedIn, but that's neither here nor there. So, hey, Wes, will you show the comment that Charles Coachman just put up now? Because I think it's kind of funny talking about Barry Bonds with steroids.
I love that.
The peaches are more like, you know, just little prunes now.
Raisins, right.
And I got a question for Tim real quick. He's put me on the spot with these hard questions. So Larry Bird or Bill Russell?
Oh, Larry Bird. Larry Bird. There were 8 teams in the league when he won 11 in a row. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson changed basketball. My opinion.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Do you think your quarterback, Mr. Roethlisberger, stays around for a couple more years? What do you think? 1 more, 2?
You know, it's hard because it's always been half and half. The people that are like real Steeler fans and understand, you know, watch the games and actually understand how great Ben really is. I think he's honestly the most underrated quarterback in the whole entire league. I really believe that. Like you know, even when like Eli Manning was there, everyone talks about Eli Manning and all these other, you know, or Phillip Rivers who never did anything. Even Breeze with 1 Super Bowl. Like everybody always, Rodgers 1 Super Bowl. Like, you know, Ben's 2 out of 3. He's put up a great career his whole entire time. Never been even spoke about for MVP or anything like that. Like, it's hard to say if they put the right running game around him. You know, he's late in his career. That's kind of what he needs. He needs a running game around him. I think they honestly could still get one. Like when he leaves, we're in trouble. There's no doubt about it. You asked about Mason Rudolph, like we're in big trouble when Ben leaves. Like last year was the perfect example. They were 8-8 with backup quarterbacks, or 2 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
This past season they did great in the beginning, but it was like the run game just stopped, and that was the end of the season. And the other thing was you got to keep everybody healthy. We had a lot of great defensive players get hurt this year too. So, but yeah, I'm live or die by Big Ben.
Yeah, he is an interesting case for when you talk about like top 10 greatest quarterbacks all time or whatever, because he does have 2 rings, and you look at guys like you look at Aaron Rodgers, who some people would say, oh, he's top 3 greatest all time.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I personally don't like Aaron Rodgers, but I think it's more just his personality. I don't know. He's too smug for me. But, people could say that about Big Ben, I guess, too. But, it's one of those things when you live in a city and you watch the different interviews and you really see how people interact, you get to feel a little different about them. And it's not so much like it's your team, but like, I love the way Ben stands up after the day after a game where maybe he had a horrible game and threw 4 picks, and he blames it all on himself. He doesn't blame it on the coaches. He doesn't blame it on anybody else. And that's like the hardest part of being a leader, is to blame shit on yourself. Like it is really, really difficult to blame it on yourself. And then he's doing it, publicly. And then I think maybe when he was early on in his career, you could almost tell like maybe he was just saying it, but then something happened. Like you could actually tell that he really meant it. Like it really bothered him, that it really was, he blamed it on himself. Like if you watch the game versus Cleveland where they lost and he threw the interceptions, like he's sitting on the bench by himself for 10 minutes. Like he's blaming himself. He knew that he lost that game. Like, yeah. So I don't know. That's just my take on him. But maybe there's some homerism in there, but
yeah, probably a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, just a little bit. Tim, what were you going to add something about Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, yeah. Well, Aaron Rodgers, do you hate Aaron Rodgers because he gets better pricing than you would from Allstate?
No, I that's great. I like Brett Favre. I always did. I think Favre was, I like Brett Favre. I don't know. There's something about him. I don't know. I hate when the media gives you a lot of things that you don't really know the truth. Hearing about like with his family and his brothers and his parents, like, I guess that kind of just being honest kind of soured me towards him. You don't really know the other side of it, so it's hard to really judge that. It's probably not fair, but sometimes if you're being honest, that's maybe what it was. And then just hearing how he does his interviews, I just don't like him. I don't know. And I mean, okay, so here's the other thing. So we're really getting down. I just told this. I was complaining about him to my kid the other day, and here's the real reason. 2009, when they went to the Super Bowl, Steelers versus the Packers, right? I was working at Papa John's. We brought a TV in, and a girl who worked for me was from Green Bay. Not like just somebody who likes Green Bay, but like they parked cars in her yard to go to the stadium. Like she grew up as like a Green Bay Packer fan. She was here for college. So we watched the game with her, and it was obnoxious. It was absolutely horrible to watch the team lose the Super Bowl with someone standing next to you cheering for the other team. I hated it. So that's probably why I hate Aaron Rodgers and probably hate the Packers too. But that's probably
he can pull some hot chicks though. Yeah,
it's interesting. He said,
he can pull some hot chicks. He's apparently engaged now too.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
By that, but last kind of two questions for you before we get you out of here. Number one, I want to ask who would you like to bake a pizza for, and then where can people find you at?
All right, so I don't know, the make the pizza part's hard. I'll give the corn answer, I guess. Really, it's my dad, and he passed away 3 years ago, and he's a huge supporter of mine. The coolest thing was when we would open the stores up, they'd be so busy, like unbelievably busy. My parents would come out, and they'd actually have to wait for a table, and he'd always look at me and go, "You got a golden horseshoe up your ass," and it just was awesome, And the last store we opened, he wasn't there for it, but that's all I could think about, and I don't know, maybe that's who I'd love to make a pizza for one day. And then people can find me at the Business Equation Podcast. They can anywhere. We're everywhere you can download a podcast. And then also Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and nickbogaz.com. And you can catch the Pizza Equation over on Amazon.
Are you still on MySpace too, or what? I mean, man, you got it all covered.
Yeah, you know, one of those things. It's interesting. Like, where do you want to be? And a lot of people just focus on one or two. It's really hard because I think we found the most on Instagram and LinkedIn for the personal brand that we found probably the most success. But we're just, you know, I still get people on Twitter, Facebook, not so much on the personal brand because you do have to spend money on it. And we kind of put those resources other places, but you know, I do think that building that personal brand on Facebook, probably a group, is probably the best way to do it. It's just one of those things we haven't really done enough yet.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on. This was fun.
Thank you so much.
We were gonna like fight today and, you know, throw tomatoes at each other, and it was going to be brutal, but it wasn't. And by the way, this T-shirt under here, Patriots T-shirt, just for you.
Yeah. Well, that's because we didn't talk about that, you know, where they got that touchdown 3 years ago. That really wasn't a touchdown, but, you know, they call it.
Here we go.
Touchdown.
Here we go. Wes, can you fire him out of here, please? Fire Nick out. Thank you.
Yeah.
He was like, what the hell? I'm gone.
Yeah, our tight end was scored and had a touchdown, and they called it back, and
That's all good.
Yeah.
Well, look, we are going to get out of here. We've gone a little longer than we normally do. Next week, we've got Jesse Cole on, who owns the Savannah Bananas. And really, about this time a year ago, Jesse set the sports community on its head because he decided he wouldn't do any advertising in his ballpark. Nothing on the walls, no programs, nothing. He is all about the fan experience from start to finish, and he's very interesting, and he does a great job on LinkedIn. He's got his 1 minute boosts, and he's always in the yellow tuxedo, and just a really cool cat, and definitely worth coming back to watch next week. So, Tim, you got anything else?
I'm good. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Nick. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I had a great time.
We'll see you later. Nick, give us one of these.